This video discusses three terms associated with the amount of loss. Those are the break-even point, operating loss, and gross loss. A business sells an item for $9. The business paid $3 and had operating expenses of 5% of cost. What is the break-even point? We'll use the two formulas on the screen to find the break-even point. First, we'll find the operating expense. We need to find the operating expense because we'll then take it and substitute it into our formula for the break-even point. Remember, the break-even point is the minimum amount needed to cover the selling price and the operating expense of an item. So in other words, the break-even point is the value at which the cost equals the selling price. So there will not be a profit if we sell the item at the break-even point. So if we find the operating expense, we'll multiply the percent of operating expense, which is 5%, and 5% written as a decimal is 0.05, and then we'll multiply that by the cost. And the problem says that the business paid $3, so the cost is $3. When we multiply 0.05 times 3, we get 0.15 or 15 cents. Next, we'll take that value and substitute it in to find the break-even point. So the break-even point is the cost plus the operating expense. So the cost is $3 and then we'll add 15 cents to it. So our break-even point is $3.15. A store paid $79 for a pair of sunglasses. The original selling price was $125, but this was marked down by 60%. If operating expenses are 15% of the cost, what was the operating loss? The operating loss occurs when the selling price is less than the break-even point. To find the operating loss, we'll use these four formulas in this order. So first, we're going to find the operating expense. The operating expense is the percent of operating expense of the cost times the cost. So we'll multiply 15% or 0.15 as a decimal times $79, which is the cost, or what the company paid for the item, to find the operating expense. So 0.15 times 79 gives us a value of $11.85. So that is the operating expense. Next, we're going to find the break-even point. So the break-even point is the cost plus the operating expense. So the cost was $79, and then we found the operating expense to be $11.85. So we'll add those two values together to get an answer of $90.85. Now we'll find the reduced price. The reduced price is found by taking the original price and subtracting the original price times the percent of markdown. The original price was $125. Then we're going to subtract the product of 125 times the percent markdown, which is 0.6, which represents 60%. First, you want to do the calculation within the parentheses. So 125 times 0.6 gives you 75. That means that our new equation is 125 minus 75. And when we do that calculation, we get 50. So our reduced price is $50. Lastly, we'll find the operating loss, and that's what the problem is asking for, the operating loss. So the operating loss is found by taking the break-even point and subtracting the reduced price from it. So the break-even point was the value we found in step 2, which was $90.85, and then the reduced price was the value we found in step 3, which was $50. That tells us that the operating loss equals $90.85 minus $50, which is $40.85. So our operating loss and the answer to our problem is $40.85. This problem is the same problem as before, but instead of computing the operating loss, we're going to find the gross loss. So the gross loss occurs when the selling price is less than the cost of an item. So to find the gross loss, we'll use the two formulas listed on the screen in that order. First, we're going to find the reduced price, and then we'll subtract the reduced price from the cost to find the amount of gross loss. So first we'll find the reduced price, and again, this is the same as what we did in the last problem. So reduced price doesn't change. It's still the original price, which is $125, minus the 125 times the percent of markdown, which is 60%, or 0.6. We'll do the calculation in parentheses first. So 125 times 0.6 gives you 75. And then 125 minus 75 is 50. So the reduced price is $50. Now we're going to take that value and substitute into the formula for gross loss. All we're going to do is subtract the reduced price from the cost. So gross loss equals the cost, which is $79, minus the reduced price, or the reduced selling price, which is $50. So $79 minus $50 is $29. So that means that this company has a gross loss of $29. And that is our final answer to this problem.